Hey guys, thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self-Reflection Podcast. I hope and pray that this conversation finds you in the best light that you can be in. I'm super excited for this conversation today. Today we have an amazing guest on Self-Reflection Podcast, Chef Renee. But before we get into our conversation, I want to ask you, if you have yet to subscribe to Self-Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll greatly appreciate it as we look to grow our community here. And also for everyone that has subscribed to Self-Reflection Podcast, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this journey. We are running up to our 5th year with Self-Reflection Podcast, and this has been an incredible journey. From a personal standpoint, it has allowed me to grow significantly, and also trying to be a businesswoman out here, right? So it has shaped me a lot into the woman that I'm becoming, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And I don't think I could have done this without you guys subscribing to Self-Reflection Podcast. So thank you guys so much for being part of our community. Also, this is going to be the last episode for our season 3. So we are going to move into season 4 for the next podcast episode. So I'm extremely excited for this conversation to end this way. So please help me welcome Renee. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
As excited as you are, I am as well.
Thank you. Before we get into our podcast episode, for those that don't know you yet, can you please give us a bit background about yourself and who you are?
Let me start here. I am Chef Renee Johnson. Mm-hmm. I am Powerful Women of the Bay Entrepreneur of the Year 2025. So I'm going to pass the torch next month in March. Mm-hmm. I am the owner of Blackberry Soul Fine Catering. I've had that company for 15 years. It is they say we're the number 2, but we can't figure out who number 1 is. So they say we're the number 2 soul food chef in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. Also, I am the owner, I'm a cookbook author. I'm a TV personality. I'm the creator of a wonderful event that they're calling the New Heartbeat of Oakland because it brings so many different communities together. It's called the Soul Food Stroll. Mm-hmm. We host that event. We were doing it every 3rd Sunday, but now we're moving it quarterly because it's gotten so big. But it's just a great event where we bring all the communities together to stroll through my venue and eat soul food. And we call it the Soul Food Stroll. And last and not least, but one of my greatest passion is entrepreneurship and building businesses. So my new project is called Link and Thrive, mm-hmm. where we bring entrepreneurs together and give them business support and the team that they need to build their business. So every tool that you would ever need as far as your business is concerned is inside of Link and Thrive. And I'm going to close it with that.
Thank you so much for joining us. I was like, should I read your bio or should I let you say it? Because I think if I would have read it, I don't think I would have done it justice. So thank you for sharing that part of you with us. Before we get into our conversation, I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now?
Girl, I am so good. I'm trying not to grin too hard because my kids say I smile too hard. Whatever. But I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to talk about how we take care of ourselves and how we keep our mind together and, and share what I have and hear what you have mm-hmm. and look for the feedback from what other people are doing and how they're feeling. Because right now, self-care, taking care of ourselves, collaborations and partnerships are all we have. Mm-hmm. And really and frankly, it's all we need if we do it the right way.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about being here.
Thank you. We're going to hop into our first question for today. You have been in business for almost 30 years, right? And as an entrepreneur, what has been taking up the most of your time lately?
I think right now I had to get comfortable with the fact that I have been known for peach cobbler and blackberry cobbler and red beans and rice and biscuits and all these things. And I had to get used to this conversation. Girl, your food is so good. And being able to say to people, oh, I'm so glad you love it. Food is my passion, but business is what I love. Mm-hmm. And being able to transition into that. So I've been really struggling, or not struggling, I should say that I've been focusing on how to transition from still loving my food and having blackberry soul, but also getting comfortable in the aisle or in the lane of saying, I'm focusing on building entrepreneurs right now. So that's what I've been focusing on a lot, at how to have that conversation, what that looks like, and, not looking like somebody who is starting something new. And I realize that when I do something, I do keep it for a long time, because Blackberry Soul has been around for 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to say, oh, here she goes again, starting something new. But I had to get comfortable in figuring out how to do that transition or that hop over or just ride that wave, So I think that's been one of the things that I've been really focusing on. And then the other thing is making sure, it's great that we're talking about this, is making sure that I take care of me. I literally am learning how to work hard, play hard, get my nails done, get some lashes on instead of watching a YouTube video. And, just taking care of me and enjoying my family. I have 10 grandchildren.
Ooh, wow.
So, and I am in love with every single one of them. And we spend quality time together. So just trying to make sure that I'm available for not only my business, but for myself and for those around me. And that is what I've been really, really focusing on.
Yeah, you're blessed with 10
Thank you.
grandchildren.
Thank
Wow.
you.
How did you make the transition from you being a chef and now like wanting to raise other entrepreneurs and help them grow in that space? Like, how did that shift happen for you, even though you've been an entrepreneur for a while?
So I'm gonna say this: I've been an entrepreneur for so long. It's almost embarrassing. When I realized that I was the worst employee ever, don't nobody want me. So I had to figure out how to do it. But I think that when we think about why I do what I do, being an entrepreneur, you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You have to have someone that believes in you, someone that's got your back, somebody's going to work, especially for us, that's going to work for no money. For me, they had to work for a cookie and a cobbler, some food. So I had to figure out how to give back to my community. And the fact that I am a teenage mom, I have no official schooling. My schooling is, the work that I've done. And being able to give that gift to other people is what made me decide to do Lincoln Thrive. I think about the fact that my sales manager is with me right now. And I had a mortgage company years ago. And he came into my office and he had like 15 loans in his lap because he was a hustler. He was a producer. And he was in it with another brokerage company. And the broker, he came and sat with me and he said, this guy is not teaching us anything and our loans aren't closing. Someone told me to come talk to you. And I said, come on, let's do it. And him and I built that company for 9 years. We did loan processing and he ran my Sacramento branch. I ran our Oakland branch and we had an LA branch. But I gave him the gift. But I've done that so many times with so many people. And then the other thing about it, I've been an entrepreneur for so long and I know a lot of people. So my phone rings all the time with, do you know a plumber? I need a lawyer. I need a seamstress. Someone is always asking me, who do I know? And I'm always giving that gift out as well. So being an entrepreneur and giving the gift of my journey, because I believe that I want to share what I've had to learn the hard way with everybody who desires to be an entrepreneur. Because it's not easy. It takes courage to be an entrepreneur. So that's what made me decide to do Lincoln Thrive, because I've gifted entrepreneurship and courage and words of wisdom and support to so many people. And then being in other cohorts, I said, I want to do something with a little different spin to it with mine, something that I saw that other cohorts and other programs were missing. I just wanted to change it just a little bit because there's so many wonderful tools out there if we use them.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about Lincoln Thrive later on in our conversation here. But for our next question here is, you have been in business for over 30 years. Before the award, before the recognition, right? Who was Renee?
So Renee was a little girl with just me and my mama. I got to tell you guys this. So I'm an only child between my mother and my father. And my father was a Black Panther person. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know how my mama got with the man. He
How
was
did that
fine. The
happen?
man was fine. Beautiful man. And she said that everybody wanted him. But I still would have had to push him down the stairs. But anyway, so I had this father that was a Black Panther, just a bully. When he died, I said, anybody who's been with my daddy has been in a high-speed chase, had a whole bunch of fun with him, and he'd loaned you some money, gave you some money. That's my father. But my mother was just this sweet woman. And back in the day, they had those Harlequin romances. My mother had her Harlequin romance books and my father. So I grew up with just right down the middle. I can be my daddy and I can be my mother. So I'm going to say that's who I was. I had these two wonderful parents that loved me to death. My mother worked for Safeway. My father was a merchant seaman. But I realized that I did not want to work for Safeway. I did not want to clock in. I did not respect a manager. I was crazy. That's at my father's side of me. And then I realized that I had to find some balance between my father and my father and my mother. With that being said, I was a little girl, and I decided I wanted to be who I wanted to be. Because when you have those kind of parents, they also make sure you know you are the baddest thing in the world. So my daddy was constantly saying, hey, Foxy Brown, you got it going on, and all this stuff. And my mother was like, I love you so much. I love you so much. All that stuff makes you have all these, expectations. I can't mess up. I can't be late. I can't do this. I can't do that, because they had all these expectations. I finally found balance in that and decided who I wanted to be. And I wanted to be excellent in everything I do. Not perfect, but my goal was to be excellent. And the reason I chose that, because goals change. My purpose never did. So being a mother, I was a young mom. I didn't let that stop me from going to school and getting my high school diploma and deciding what I wanted to do. I've always believed that we have to have people in our lives that are going to feed us and give us gifts. So I've always had friends that are older than me that can give me wisdom. I have my friends that are my age that we can relate. And I always have friends I always give back to girls that are younger. So being a mother, being a friend, having to build my sisterhood is what I decided to do. And I have a bonus sister, and I'm not even going to say my bonus sister. Years ago, she said to me, you are fabulous. You got to lean into it. And I did. And, I think about, she was an entrepreneur and doing her business. I said, I can do this. And that's how entrepreneurship came about. But I know that I say my claim to fame is I'm an excellent mama, because I done raised 3 kids that absolutely worship me, and I absolutely worship them. I was with my daughter last night, and I said, girl, I think you kind of turned into my best friend. She said, I'm not one of your little friends. I said, absolutely not. But I enjoy my children so much. My son, my daughter in New York, I really enjoy them. And my grandchildren, I enjoy my mother. So I think that all has shaped me into being who I am. All those tools and all that. And I get in trouble a lot. So trust and believe, I'm saying all this good stuff. I'm late. I'm mad. My daughter just said to me, Mama, you can't be cussing, because you're going to be known for the cussing and not the cobbler. They're going to catch you on camera doing that. So but I found balance in who I am and decided that this is what I want to be: a good mom, a good daughter, a good business person, a wonderful grandmother. And I say those are my claim to fame, and making the best dang biscuits that you ever taste.
I can't wait to try your food.
I cannot wait to spoil you, girl. I cannot wait.
From the salmon you talked about outside to now. But wow, I hear you speak, and everything you talk about seems like you're so passionate about it. And not only that, it's like it's love, right? That's what I hear when you're talking about your family, your parents, and just talking about your parents. What is one lesson you learned from your dad and one lesson you learned from your mom that you still hold today?
So for my dad, I'm going to start with him. My father was absolutely fearless. The man did every single thing that he wanted to do. And he gave that to me. And my father was a merchant seaman, and he was really into me. My mother said that he treated her like a black Barbie doll when they got married. And then when I came, he would walk in and look at her and say, where my baby at? So and he raised me like that. But my father reached out and touched the world any way he wanted to, good or bad. And then my mother I'm going to say this. Every single thing that my mother has ever said to me has come true. When my mother said to me, don't do it, and I did it, it came back to bite me on my butt. When my mother said, this is good, and I followed her instructions, it was always one of the best things to do. And I appreciate my mother's wisdom and my mother's touch. My mother, I could be having the worst day ever, and my mother lives in Vallejo, and I could get on that bridge, and I'm like, I got to get to my mama's, I got to get to my mama's, I got to get to my mama's. Right when I get to my mother's and I lay right here, it all feels good. So I'm going to say between my father believing in me and making me know that I could do anything because that's how he was, and then my mother's touch and her wisdom, I have never, never, never not learned a lesson from my mother. And the other thing I'm going to say about my mother is my mother believing in me.
Yeah.
When my mother, whatever project I'm doing, when my mother says, girl, we got something here. We don't have no money, but I got a card. You know, we're going to do this and do that and do this. That's when it becomes real for me. And that's when it comes to life and it just blooms. When my mother says, ooh, girl, this is something here. So that's the two things that I love about my parents is that they do that with my grandchildren, with their grandchildren too. My mother is very good with my grandchildren and her grandchildren because my mother's a great grandmother.
Yeah. That's a blessing to have your mom and have her pour into you like that. You know, because I do believe in, you know, that woman, like, I think like women are, you know, like I said, Mother Nature, right? So when they do pour into us like that, I feel like it's such a blessing to have that. So that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna dive into our next question here. In 3 decades of entrepreneurship, what has stayed consistent about who you are, even when things were not going well?
I think that when you become an entrepreneur, you have to learn yourself so that you can make it. You have to learn to ride the peaks and the valleys and the highs and lows.
Yeah.
And I had to learn what that meant for me. So when things are not good for me, I'm a hibernator. And I always believe that I've always had a life coach or a mentor, or I'm always feeding myself something educational or spiritual. That's just been the way I've been my whole life. Not that I even execute any of the tools all the time. I might read it and, you know, forget about it and come back. But I always am feeding myself something educational and spiritual. But to be an entrepreneur, like I said, it takes courage to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So as I'm going through my peaks and valleys, I realized I was a hibernator. And my life coach, Deidre Gordery, said to me, I want you to give yourself grace when it comes to that. Because what happens is that when you hibernate, you come out on fire. You have a plan and you execute it. Once upon a time, I would hibernate and not know what that meant. Now, when I hibernate, I know that I'm strategizing, I'm working through things, I am planning, I'm figuring out how to execute it. And she's absolutely right. When I hibernate, I come out on fire. And understanding that thing about me, I also know that trusting in God has been a game changer for me in my business and who I am. And what that looks like is that, you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you build a business bootstraps, you know, I had to tell somebody the other day, girl, if I don't work, I don't get a paycheck. You know, you're sitting up there getting a paycheck. You're getting a retirement. All of my friends are getting money. But if I'm not, you know, peeling potatoes or at an event or at a speaking engagement, I get no money.
Yeah.
So knowing that I trust God that I'm gonna be okay. If it's God's will, it's God's bill. So I literally believe that.
Yeah.
You know, if he gave it to me, he's given me this vision, I don't have to worry. So now I've learned to navigate that. Once upon a time, girl, we wouldn't have a gig, and instead of being glad we're resting because we've done 30 events that month, I'd be laying up in the middle of the night thinking what we going to do. And instead of just realizing he's giving me a break. So now I understand my business. I understand who I am. I know how to navigate and not get caught up in the survival mode of my business. I literally have trust in God that his will is manifest over my life. That's how I pray. I don't, you know, I got a lot of kids. I got a lot of grandkids. I got that mama. I got a business. I got friends. So I've learned to literally just say, God, let your will be manifest over my life. That gave me such a peace that no, not such a peace, a different kind of peace that nothing I've ever experienced. And I'm going to say this last thing about that. I also know what it's like for people to have manifestation in their lives as well. And I think the difference between manifestation, is just my opinion, is that with manifestation, you're giving your plans and your dreams to the universe. The universe is big. It's big. So you throwing all your stuff out there hoping it's going to click on a star or a moon or something. But when you give your dreams and your problems, your hopes, your all that stuff, when you grab it up and hand it to God, you're putting it in his hands.
Wow.
Just don't take it back. Don't hit his hand and knock it out either. So that has been a game changer for me.
Wow. I'm going to take that one with me.
You
That's
should, girl.
beautiful.
This is about us.
Yeah, wow. Before we continue our conversation, I want to ask you, if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll greatly appreciate it as we look to grow our community here. And again, I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to Self Reflection Podcast. It means so much to me. Let's go. We are moving on to season 4, last podcast episode of this season, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be able to close this podcast with you, Renee. So thank you so much for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast.
Girl, thank you for having me.
We're going to dive in a little bit more into soul food and community.
Okay.
I know the other day when we were on the phone, someone mentioned now your event has become like the heartbeat of Oakland, which is so beautiful to hear, because a lot of times, or at least in the past, when you hear about Oakland, it's usually not the positive, high, vibration things that people will say. So when you go into the community and you look to bring people together, right? What message are you looking to pass out there to our community and to the world as well about Oakland?
Well, I think that everybody needs to pay attention to these words, because word on the street is Oakland is better in person.
Ooh.
Girl, and we've been saying it because it is absolutely the truth. We do have our situations.
Yes.
We have things that happen, but I had to say to someone not too long ago, you guys act like situations are only happening in Oakland. They are happening every single where we go. So if you want to hold on to that, that's the wrong thing to do, because there's so many wonderful things in Oakland. Our community and how we live, and it goes back to not even this times. I was doing feeding the homeless not too long ago, and it reminded me of when the Black Panthers were here, and how free breakfast for kids got started was through the Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. And what it was like to have meals done then, and how we had to come together as a community then. So as we sit here and build community in Oakland, like we've always done, because I believe that it don't get serious until Oakland, shut up the freeway or something, or whatever we decide to do. But it doesn't get serious until we start talking about it. That's how I feel. But I think that we have to stick to those words, that Oakland is so much better in person. When we gather together, our communities, we have such a good time. It's supportive. It's fun. It is us connecting. It's building. And all of those organizations and community things we do are about partnerships and collaboration and about change. So I'm going to encourage people to know that, yes, absolutely. If you're going somewhere, I'm not saying that you should not be careful. I'm not saying that you could leave your purse in your car. I'm saying that wherever you are, you got to do those same things as well.
Absolutely.
It's not just Oakland. Yeah. If I'm in LA, if I'm in New York, if wherever I am, I'm conscious and aware, because that's the signs of the times right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, we have to be careful. We have to be mindful. We have to watch who's around us. When me and my mom go someplace, I've scanned the whole restaurant. My mother don't see nothing. I can tell her, Mama, they fighting. Mama, they're on their first date. Mom, they don't like each other. Aren't they cute? Mommy be like, who? But I'm paying attention to everywhere I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say, trust and believe. Yes, things are happening in Oakland, but good things are happening in Oakland as well. Mm-hmm. And every little corner you step on in Oakland, change that corner. Say hello to somebody. Mm-hmm. Make sure you tell somebody they're beautiful. Find out about people. Build connections. Every time you're in a space in Oakland, at a corner, at the light, touch somebody, because that's what we need.
Yeah. I love that. Oh my God. I'm so excited that we're having this conversation. Why food, right? I know you somewhat mentioned earlier in that conversation, why food? What is it about breaking barriers with food that you decided to venture into?
So I decided food because, I came from two beautiful grandmothers, and both of them could really cook. But I always I can't even say I referenced either one more than the other. I kind of blended them together because if you get the pound cake, that's Veltru Johnson's pound cake. And if you get my peach cobbler, that's Catherine Owens' peach cobbler. But I came from, and I'm the first granddaughter to Catherine Owens, so I got to experience her differently. And back in the day, you went to your grandmother's house a lot then. So after school, I went to my grandmother's house. So I ate differently. Believe it or not, I didn't like food, but I loved being at my grandmother's house. But what made me decide to do food is that growing up in that household, and when I had my mortgage company, I would, when someone would refinance or purchase a home, I would gift the clients a pound cake or a banana pudding or red velvet pound cake or whatever they order. We had this little order form, and that was their gift to us. Then I came up with the idea, that entrepreneur spirit, that during the holidays, my children worked for me as well when we had the mortgage company. They were in high school. So after school, they would come to the mortgage company and do their homework and process loans there. So they would take care of the office during the holidays, and I would let my customers order sweet potato pies, pound cakes, peach cobbler for the holidays. When the mortgage industry crashed, my oldest daughter, Danielle, said, "Mommy, you need to do something with your food." And that's how food came about. I did not know that it was going to be this wonderful for us. Not having a food background, not having any culinary experience whatsoever. And when I won the award, I opened up singing these words, because it's all these beautiful, powerful women in this room. Lawyers, doctors, attorneys, judges, scientists, all these fabulous women.
Yeah.
And I had fed all of them at their companies or something, right? And so when I opened up my acceptance for my award, I said, who would have ever thought that peach cobbler, blackberry cobbler, and red beans and rice would have got me this award? Who would have ever thought? So when I say that, I say it was never so much about the food. I'm going to say it was about me being able to touch people. I had no idea it was going to be this fabulous. I had no idea I was going to feed Cornel West, Kamala Harris, the Tonys, Will Downing, Google, 25, the singer Her. I could go on and on and on. Nobody would have ever known that it's going to be this big. And I always have said, as I have done any business, your business is only as big as you are. A lot of times people say, oh, that her little business, or, she got a small business. I've never let anybody say my business is small. So here we sit, and that's how the food came about. I'm known as a chef who requires a kiss. And when you take a bite of my food, you make a whole lot of noise. That's when I say, ooh, make a whole lot. That's all I want. You say, oh my God, this is good. And give me some sugar.
Wow. You talk about your kids coming and helping out. What lesson have you learned being a mom from your kids?
Whew. So I had to realize that I had 6 eyes that were looking at me. And I remember we were in the car one time, and all 3 of them were saying, Mommy, where are we going? Mommy, where are we going? Where are we going? And I can remember where we were at the time. And I was like, where are we going? And I realized I had 6 eyes looking at me, had to figure it out. I had to give them the tools that they needed to be as bad as they wanted to be anything that they wanted to be. And I wanted them to know that they could do it. And that's how I raised my children. I was with somebody not too long ago, and my daughter came in, and I was like, oh, here comes the superstar. Here she is. And he was like, I said, you will want to learn something and make sure your children know that that's how you feel about them.
Yeah.
And you will want to also make sure that they know that they're not perfect, because I have 3 beautiful children. And people would stop me all the time and say, oh my God, your kids. But I always made sure that I said they're beautiful on the outside, but they're so wonderful on the inside, so they could stay humble because I would have to hit them in the head. But I think that I had to realize that I had six eyes
Yeah.
that were looking at me, and I had to give them the tools that they needed to make it in this world. So I navigated like that. I had conscious conversations with them. I held them accountable. Somebody asked me, how did I raise these kids? I said, with a book, a kiss, a cookie, and sometimes a beating. And I'm saying that because Brandon, I never had to knock him in his head. Danielle, I could just say, oh my God. And she was disappointed. And then I had my other baby who needed a little tap tap, but all of them needed something.
Yeah.
But whatever they needed, I gave them to the best of my ability. And there's a lot of regrets that I have with my children as well, as wonderful as they are. But I could have did some things differently. I could have been held them more accountable. I could have not, I could have said no more instead of yes, yes, yes sometimes. But I enjoyed my children.
Yeah.
I had fun with them, and I encourage people to do that.
Yeah. And, you know, being a colored woman in America, raising children in this space, right? I know you mentioned having conscious conversation with them, right? What was those type of conversations? What did they look like somehow?
I'm gonna tell you a story. So I had my son. My son was hard headed. He just did not want to listen. So I was fussing and howling and screaming at him all the time. And Brandon said to me not too long ago, he said, Mommy, you were so on top of us that I could be out and about behind the garbage can, behind the building, and you would drive up and say, get your butt over here right now. He said, you were so tapped in. And I was. And I literally would get up, you guys, I got my suit on, I'm about to go to work. And I would say, where Brandon at? Brandon ain't at school. It would hit me. I'd get in my car and drive around, and I could see him right there. I said, get over here. So I think that having conversations is really important. So what I did with Brandon to talk about conversation, I said, listen, if you want to be a dodo and you want to be a thug, you want to do all these things, that's fine. But I'm going to show you what kind of girl you're going to end up with. It's 11 o'clock at night, a Friday night. We're in Vallejo. I put his butt in the car. It may have been even later than that because I woke him up. Get your clothes on. Let's go. Woke him up, put him in the car. We drove to West Oakland where all the dope fiends and people with no teeth and everything. I said, that girl right there, that one right there, that one that's sitting there sniffing and trying to figure out what to do, that's going to be your woman if you don't get it together. Brandon said, oh, God, Mommy, I can't believe you got me out here. Look, I said, that's what you're going to be. So having those conversations about accountability and integrity and where you want to be, and if you make decisions differently, even as far as drugs are concerned, I said, nobody wakes up in the morning and decides they want to have a drug problem.
Yes.
Everybody thinks I can do it one time and I'm going to be all right. Or I'm only going to do it this one time. And then they're caught up. But nobody wakes up and says, hey, I think I want to have a drug problem. But everybody thinks that they can do it one time. And that kept all three of my children from making that mistake. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that I had with my daughters. I told my daughters, make your own decisions. If you guys make a decision, my son too, whatever decision you make, you have to take 100% responsibility for what happens, the good and the bad. So make sure, because I'm going to hold you accountable. So, and those were kind of the conversations we had. I don't care what you do. As long as I'm going to let you go play with that little girl that I don't like. I don't like her mama either. But you see him, it's going to be all right. You're not going to get in trouble. But trust and believe this is not going to go the way that you want it to, and you're going to be in trouble every single time it happened.
Yeah.
Every single time. But I had the conversation. Are you ready to take 100% responsibility for this? Yes, Mommy, I am. I'm telling you. Come up in here and crying because you done got in trouble.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, before we continue our conversation, if you have yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit the subscription button. I greatly appreciate it as well. Also, I want to share a little bit something with you guys. I have been working on this project for a little while. It's called Ojema. Ojema is a all organic deodorant, all natural product that I have been working on. I made this by myself, so If you are out there wanting to try this product, right now I am giving some away for free. So if you want to try it, send me a DM and I will definitely send you one of this. I'm trying to get gather as much data as possible as we are still working to perfect the product as well. So let me know if you want to try it with Gemma. You can find Ujema on my Instagram, so it could take you to Ujema's Instagram as well. Thank you guys again for listening to Self Reflection Podcast. I hope that this conversation is bringing you guys some value. I'm learning a lot from this conversation as well. I feel like I'm speaking to my auntie, and we haven't had much conversation before, so this is great. Renee, thank you again so much for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. It's incredible speaking with you. We're going to dive into Link and Thrive right now, your new baby, right? I know that on our conversation the other day when we spoke real briefly, you told me how this kind of came about, where you were at an event, someone came up to you and asked you if you could mentor them, right? Can you give us a little bit more background or insight about that?
So I was at an event, and I wasn't the speaker,
Yeah.
but I was talking and sharing wisdom, and just because everybody was though.
Yeah.
So after we had, we break out in groups and all kind of things. It was a great event. But after it was over with, I was walking out, and a girl came over to me and said, "Hi, can you mentor me?" She said she's a baker, and I said, "Girl, yes." But that happens a lot to me, that someone will ask me to mentor them or call me and run something by me. So I decided that with Lincoln Thrive, I wanted to touch that piece of it. I had been trying to figure out how to build an entrepreneur community for a while. It's been one of my passions forever. And that's when I say your timing is your timing. And I don't care how long it takes. If it stays your passion, then you'll be fine. I was talking to another entrepreneur, and I asked her why. Why are you doing this business? And she said, "Oh, because, I had a friend and my girlfriend told me it was a good idea." I said, "Girl, you're not doing the business for the right reason, because it's not keeping you up at night. It's not your passion. And you got to put something behind it." Well, Lincoln Thrive in entrepreneurship has kept me up at night. It's my passion. And I've gifted to so many people. So I had to figure out what I wanted it to look like and how I wanted it to feel. And the concept behind it was I didn't want to go to another networking event or get into another entrepreneurship program where money wasn't exchanged. And I also didn't want to do another one where I came out with a lot of tools, great tools, but I got right back into working and I wasn't able to use the tools.
Yeah.
Because so many times when you're an entrepreneur, the labor will keep you from doing all the other stuff. So I didn't want to come back with a whole bunch of different tools and programs and not be able to use them and have them stay in my car for a week until my grandchildren pulled them out. And I said, "Oh, where's that stuff?" "Oh, yeah." I wanted to be a different kind of experience. And that could be me not tapping in, because some people do tap in. But that was not my experience for me, because I do labor stuff. So I said I wanted to do a different kind of entrepreneurship support group. And that's how I came up with Lincoln Thrive.
Yeah. Inside Link and Thrive, I know you mentioned a little bit in the beginning of our conversation. Can you tell us what people get when they are part of this community?
I'm going to go back to this. I was speaking at an event, and they said, as an entrepreneur, what would you do differently? And I said, if I was to start all over again, I would start with a team. I think that starting with a team, I don't care if it's one or two people, three, I prefer three. But I would start off with a team, and then I would do the labor part of it, because I realized that when you're caught up in the daily runnings of your business,
Yeah.
You get caught up in that no matter what it is. If it's an accountant, if it's somebody who does filming, if it's a cookie maker, a seamstress, you're constantly doing the labor part and not doing anything else. You're doing the labor part and you're invoicing. That's it. So I realized that if I was to do it over again, I would start a team. And so inside Lincoln Thrive, you get a team. So when you join Lincoln Thrive, you get a questionnaire and I ask you who's on your team. And I can see what you need. And whatever you need is inside of Lincoln Thrive. So if you need a business attorney, we have a business attorney in there. If you need a social media manager, you have a social media manager. If you need a tax preparer, we have a tax preparer. Every part of a business team is inside of Lincoln Thrive. What's also wonderful about it is that if you're inside Lincoln Thrive, all of those people are going to start making money instantly because we're supporting each other and building partnerships. So inside Lincoln Thrive, if you don't want to partner, you can't come. It's not for everybody. If you don't want to build, you cannot come. If you don't want to collaborate, it ain't for you. But if you want to support another business, then it's the place to be. So I decide in Lincoln Thrive on the premise that you get all the business support that you need. Any questions you have need answered, there's somebody to go to. And if you're a business owner, you will absolutely get business inside Lincoln Thrive because we're going to support you. The other thing that we do differently is that inside Lincoln Thrive, everybody is required to do a launch. To launch their business. Because I ask so many people, well, what are you doing about your business? People say social media. People say, oh, I called my friends. People say I do an email. But in my concept, in the way that I think, you need to announce it to everybody and you need to make it live. We need to feel it. We need to touch it. Because if you call me and say, girl, I started making dresses, I'm saying, girl, that's good. Send it to me and it's going to go on my email and I'm going to lose it. And yeah, I may think about you later on, but if I'm there with you and we see you do a fashion show, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So inside Lincoln Thrive, you're required to do a launch. And if you're in business already, you're required to do a focus group where we come together. We see how you show up. We get to feel what your customers are experiencing so we can root you on, or we can tell you, you know what, can we do this a little different? So we can see how you're showing up and give you every tool you need. And that's the support side of it. So you get all the support that you need as far as social media, an attorney. We have guest speakers that come in and talk to you about stuff. We have a girl in there. So many times we get to a place where we don't understand funding and how to get funding to get your product out. There's a girl there that's going to work with you to get that done and not just have a conversation, but make you believe you can do it. Because so many times, or understand why it's important and understand why that don't be afraid. So many times we get afraid of money. I was there. Blackberry Soul, I could have got money 1,000 times for Blackberry Soul, but I didn't want no $200,000 bill, but not understanding what that looks like and how to manage it. Speaking with my sister about how we get money and not know how to manage it and not how to work it and think, well, buy a van for my business and save some money for our staff, all these things and what scaling looks like. So how to get your products out into the world, what a co-packer looks like and how to have a conversation with a co-packer. Do you have to buy your stuff back? All those different things are conversations that we have, but what to do with those conversations, we have somebody there that's going to make sure that we don't just have the conversation, but make you believe you could do it.
Yeah. Wow. I was like, I've been in so many different communities trying to figure out this entrepreneur journey, right? And usually it's, okay, I pay you and then you talk to me for 2-3 hours and then that's it, and this seems so different, from what I've experienced out there with other platforms. So can anyone join this platform, or how do you vet people to join the platform?
So it is open to everybody, but it's not for everybody. And so when I say that because space is limited in it. We're not going to have 4 bakers or 5 bakers. It's only going to be 2 to 3 bakers. So in any category, it's only going to be 2 to 3 people at the most. And the reason why we're doing it that way is so you guys can get the attention that you need. There's no competition. And the only reason why I do 2 or 3 is because not everybody likes everybody as well. Let's be real. And not everybody's stuff is good. So if you have a couple of options as far as that's concerned, that's a great thing. But it's not for everybody. There is requirements. We're just building it. You got to give me grace as well. But the concept and how we're doing it is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's what I do already for everybody anyway. We're just putting it in a program right now. So it is for everybody, but space is limited. And I don't want it to get so big where we can't touch people and support each other and rely on people. I don't want to have it so big where until we build a team where you guys can't get to me or my team. So I want to make sure that it's us.
Yeah.
And then, as people grow and graduate out of it, we'll add more people. But in every category, we're not going to have any competition or anything like that. So if anybody has a business that's thinking about doing it, reach out to us because space is limited as far as the categories are concerned, or what's the word? Not the category. Give me a word, girl.
Availability. I was like,
Let's say the role, or I don't know what it is, but trust and believe. We're only going to have a couple of bakers, a couple of accountants, a couple of tax preparers.
Yeah.
It's not so. It's just like that, so everybody can get what they need from it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. With Lincoln Thrive, right? I know you talked about how the space is limited and people, only a certain amount of people can get into that space, right? What are you hoping that people, when they come into the community, what are they bringing into that community, right? Because you have what you've said right now. It's like you want a community where people can thrive and collaborate with each other. But what are you also looking for people to bring into the community as you're building it from the ground up right now?
What I really hope that people can come in with is a growth mindset. I need them to be fearless. I need them to give us grace. Energy is everything to me. I protect my peace so well. I am the person who will say, let me kiss you and let you go on. So you have to be willing to be flexible, to have a big brain, to just know where you want to go. And I love people who, I don't have it all. So if you have any knowledge, any education, any kind of books that you're reading, I need you guys all to come and share what you have as well. But you have to have the right mindset. You cannot be scared. You cannot feel like you're imperfect. I have zero tolerance for judgment of anybody. I don't walk around doing that. I don't look at nobody and say she's not going to make it or any of those things. That's not what I'm about. So you got to have a positive mindset. And you can't have no funky attitude. You just cannot. You cannot walk into Lincoln Thrive anything with an icky attitude and think it's going to be okay. You can walk in feeling bad. You can walk in because something happened to you, but you have to be able to shake it off so we can get what we need. You can make sure you have the tools that you need, because it's like when you go to work and you're in a bad mood or something that happened, you still got to go to work. You got to handle your business. So same thing with Lincoln Thrive. Yeah. I love education. I love anything that anybody can give us. And not everything about Lincoln Thrive you can use. Some stuff we can use. And my grandmother just always says, sometimes people say stuff to you. Use what you need. File away what you don't, what you'll need later. And what you don't need, throw it away so you can have space for new stuff. Same thing in Lincoln Thrive. So everything is not going to be for everybody. But most importantly, you got to be positive. You got to have a growth mindset. You got to be ready. You got to have grace. You got to be having patience with all of us.
Yeah. I love that. We're going to move into you talking about more from talking to young women. I think this is something that I would love to also hear more about. I think I used to be a caregiver, and one of the things I really loved about working as a caregiver was that I would listen to all of, like, my older clients, and they would tell me their life journeys, and I got to learn so much about, what life is like from that perspective, right? And I think in our society today, not just in the US, I think all over, you know, older, like the older generation, right, isn't as passing down information, I would say, as much as I think they should, or as much as what I grew up in Cameroon, seeing where the aunties and the grandmothers will, like, tell the kids, even if it's not their child, they're not related, but they'll give them advice. So I'm really excited for this part of this conversation. So what does it mean to balance, sorry, I can't even read anymore because that's how excited I am. Okay, what does real balance looks like when it comes down to vision and you being honest as a young woman growing up, from your advice perspective to young women?
So I think that we have to remember to listen. We have to remember and to listen to good people. We have to remember that where you're going, I've already been. And the fact that I am loving and caring and kind enough to share with you wisdom and guidance so you don't have to fall into the same things or the same traps that I have is something that's really important. I think that our generation, my generation, is still there. But I think the generation right below me has kind of let that go a little bit.
Yeah.
And I also think that as we grow, we have to remember that respect and hierarchy is really important. And we have let go of that so much. So I would love for the younger women to have a more teachable spirit. And I would love for our women to remember that these young girls are watching us as we navigate and we show up and as we relate to people. I think that it's two ways. You guys don't want to hear nothing that's crazy as well. I don't want to hear nothing that's crazy. But if we have something of value and something of wealth to you, I also would like to see young women open their ears. Because right now I think that self is so important to everybody. I remember years ago when the word diva came out. I absolutely hated that word because I thought that it gave us an arrogance instead of a confidence. People who said diva were arrogant, they weren't confident to me. And I felt like it was a word that it was overused. Then this new generation, in my opinion, has changed diva to the B word. And they think that that's okay. But I would love for us to watch what we say and what we do because everybody is watching us. So my children, as I was raising my children, there was a lot of flack about my children, about how I was raising them. Was I a strict mom? Was I too fun? I was a single mom and I was cute, okay? I was out in the world, touching the world my own self, but there was a lot of judgment around that. But I knew what I wanted and how I wanted my children to be, and people were saying things to me, good and bad. I picked what I want and followed those rules, and then I did what I want and did the best I could. But I would love for people to have a different kind of ear nowadays, and I would love for people to have more standards. Not everything is acceptable. There's no reason for us to not have any kind of boundaries. I feel like right now that every line that's going to be crossed, everybody's going to cross it. There's no line where we're going to say, "Oh, this is as far as I'm going to go."
Yeah.
This is as far as I'm never going to disrespect my mother. I'm never going to cuss at my mother. I'm never going to steal from my mother. I'm never going to do those things because I'm not going to cross that line. I'm never going to think I can beat my mother up. But my mother had standards. My mother had rules. My mother had things that I knew that I wasn't going to get away with. But, and I, like my daughter said last night, I'm not one of your little friends. My children have never been one of my little friends. So I'm going to say if we start having some standards that go back to the basics, we might be able to do something. But what is the basics? You know, the basics for me is that you're not going to talk to your mother. You're going to listen to what I say. I looked at my grandchildren. My daughter had all these clothes out and letting my grandson pick out what he wanted to wear. And I was like, girl, we got to go. Put those red shoes on, that blue hat, and that purple top, and let's go. You know, all that picking. You want to wear this, you want to wear that. Nothing wrong with those things. But I think that we need to go back to the basics a little bit so we can get grounded. And that's what I would say to any and everybody. And I mean the basics. I remember Farrakhan said that we have to be held accountable on a different level that includes God and not. And he's the one who said, we got to go back to the basics, meaning that right is right, right is wrong. I just said to my granddaughter, I'm not going to explain bad behavior to you. Your parents are going to do that. You're going to do what I said do. I'm not going to have to explain to you why bad behavior. You know you're wrong. Let's go. And then we went to the mall and she was like, Grandma, can you get this? I never tell her no. I said, no, because you're not kind. And I'm kind to you and I expect the same thing. When you get kind, we're going to do some good things together. But you're not kind. I'm not impressed. And that's my heart and my soul. She's named after me. But I had to teach her a lesson. And in a different way. And I know deliverance is everything. I'm constantly in trouble about deliverance. Huh, Jonathan? I'm constantly in trouble about deliverance. But I also want people to forget about deliverance sometime and hear the message.
Yeah.
Forget about deliverance sometime. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it with passion and I'm saying it with love. Because I want you to be, like I say, the baddest thing walking out here.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I love that. What's it called? When I think it's Jesus, like when he went into the temple and people were selling in the temple and he kind of destroyed everything, right? And people were upset that he's upset, like but it's the message that he was passing on. And
Absolutely.
I love that. You know, how has social media changed how young women see themselves today, from your perspective?
Ooh, girl. That's old women too. I think that social media has made people feel that being pretty is the most important thing in the world. And not having a brain, not having integrity, not being wise, not having any standards, all they are worried about is being pretty. They don't know how to embrace how beautiful they are. They don't know how to embrace that they have a brain a lot of times. They don't know how to work and get things that they need and set goals. You know, so many times social media makes everything look so instant. I'm going to use this as an example. Red beans and rice, blackberry cobbler bought me a Jag, right? Who would ever thought? I didn't put my Jaguar on social media because I knew everybody would not be impressed. They would be impressed with the Jag, but they would not be impressed that I stayed up night and day peeling yams and making mac and cheese, hugging, kissing people. They don't care about the journey and that I made a goal and I got to that goal. They would have been impressed with the Jag. So I think that today everything is so instant. It's got to be shiny. It's got to be flashy. It's got to be quick. Nobody really knows. You know, I look at butts more than I probably have ever in my life because I'm like, is that her real booty? Is that her real booty? My daughter has a real booty. And my daughter said, Mommy, I was walking through the airport and the guy said, is that your real butt?
Oh, wow.
And she was like, yes. So I think that all of those things have taken away from that good old-fashioned love and connection that we built. When we were growing up, and not even as a young adult, I remember we would walk down the street. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Nobody's speaking anymore. I remember being in my car and, you know, me looking and see if I see anybody cute. girl, ain't nobody looking at me in my Jag, okay? I was saying, girl, I saw somebody cute, and I'm very single, you guys, and celibate. I don't want no man, but I saw somebody cute. And I said, I was looking at him. He didn't even look at me. So he passed me by and I started clicking my likes like this to see if he would notice me. The man didn't even notice me then. It's just so funny how social media has taught us not to connect and not to grow and not to almost be human. And we all see it.
Yeah.
And people are having conscious conversations about how social media is affecting us. But what are we going to do about it? I see my grandchildren. My grandchildren come to my house and I'm tired. I tell my kids, girl, these kids going to get up in here and watch that phone. And I don't care if they burn their eyes out watching it because I'm going to be asleep. But that ain't even right. You know, I'm like, going over there and watch that thing because I'm sleeping. My little grandbaby be clicking that thing and I know his eyes are tired. And then finally I'll say, put that thing down and go to bed. But people, young women, are all about the now and the quickness and how they look and what a boy is going to give to them or what a man is going to give to them and what they're going to give to a man. They've made bad behavior acceptable. That's how I literally feel about it.
What does thriving truly looks like for Black women today, from your perspective?
I think that so many people think that it's about the money. And I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about how we touch the world. I think it's about building relationships. I think it's about when I'm gone, what are you guys going to say? And for a fact, I know everybody's going to say Renee hugged and kissed me and took off her earrings and handed them to me. I done lived at her house. She supported my business. How are we touching the world? That's thriving. That's building. That's talking about that's what thriving means to me. How am I touching the world? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with money. I absolutely love money. I know we need money and I work for money. But I also know that it's so much bigger than money.
Yeah.
It's bigger than us being here now. We have got to make sure that our kids have what they need. I worry about my grandchildren. You know, are they going to be able to make it in this world? I worry about sending my grandchildren to school. I worry about my grandson going to work when he gets old enough. What's that going to look like for him? I said about my grandchildren, in our household, in our family, we're going to have to fight out there in the world all day long. We have to fight in traffic, fight at the cleaners, at the grocery stores, at school, at work. But when you come home, that's where you come home and you feel good. When you get to your grandmother's house, you know, I'm going to have a clean bed. I'm going to have some pound cake or a cookie or some top ramen, something for my children, my grandchildren. And that's how I raised my kids, that they would go out and touch the world. But when they came home, they knew I was going to be there to make them feel good. So I think thriving is about that. How are we, those 6 eyes that were looking at me, I want them to thrive. Your eyes looking at me, they're so pretty too. Your eyes, I want you to be as wonderful as you choose to be. And anything that I can do to help you thrive, that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I believe about it. It's not about the money. It's about who you are and how you're touching this world.
Absolutely. And for our last question, when it comes down to women here, what is some supportive word or advice you have for young women out there, not just Black women, but women in general?
I want you guys to be limitless. And I want you guys to take that word that I love. I want your purpose to be excellent. And I want you to think about it. I want you guys to wake up and know that you can be excellent in anything that you do. That you don't have to settle, and it's okay to be imperfect. I want you also to pray. And I want you to trust God. I want you to choose God every single day. Those are my words.
Thank you. A real quick fun, comfort food or clean eating?
Girl, you know I want the comfort food.
Legacy or visibility?
Legacy.
Hustle or harmony?
Ooh, hustle or harmony? I'm gonna say harmony because I'm always hustling and I'm a little tired.
Okay. Introvert recharging or social gathering?
Um, like right now, I like being in the streets. So I'm gonna say social gathering. I like being in the streets
She's
right now.
outside.
Yeah, I'm outside.
And the last one here is community or competition?
Oh, community all day long.
Yeah.
You know I love community. If I'm in a competition, I'm gonna let you win. That's how much I hate competition.
Thank you so much again, Renee, for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. I've had so much fun listening to you talk, learning from you. You know, in this 1 hour, I feel like I've picked up so many gems from you. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. If our friends and family want to connect with you on social media, where can they find you?
First, let me say this to you. Girl, this was so good. And thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed you so much. And if you want to find me, you can find me on IG, Chef Renee's Way, Lincoln Thrive on IG, Lincoln Thrive Partner, also blackberrysoul.net, and my YouTube is Chef Renee Johnson, and LinkedIn is Chef Renee Johnson as well. And then I'm gonna say this, you guys, I don't never do my I don't never know my handles really well. So I'm just gonna say Google me.
Yes. And for our dropping off conversation here, when you look at your younger self, what message do you have for that young girl for a self-reflection moment?
Girl, you asked me all these deep questions. For my young girl, I would say you don't have to be perfect. I would say you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And believe in yourself. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Thank you again so much for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. You know, I can't wait to actually watch this conversation because I really enjoyed sitting here with you. So thank you.
Okay, you watch it because you know I never watch my stuff. I'd be scared.
Thank you guys so much again for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. I hope that you guys found value in this conversation and also you enjoyed it as much as I did. I feel like my cheeks are kind of hurting from like smiling and laughing the whole time. So, you know, I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation as well. And for everyone that has yet to subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. Let's continue to grow our community here. And again, for all the family that has subscribed to Self Reflection Podcast, thank you guys again for subscribing to Self Reflection Podcast. Means so much to me as well. Also, I want to just touch on Ujema one more time, y'all. If you are looking for an organic deodorant and you're in the Bay Area or outside of the Bay, and you want to be one of the first people to try Ujema, I am going to send this to you for free. So just send me a DM on Instagram and I would send you one of this. You know, we're looking to test it, make sure that, you know, it's the best product that we're putting out there. So you're getting something so cute for free. And Ujema means collective effort. So it's all together. So yeah. So guys, let me know. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us on Self Reflection Podcast. I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. And please do not forget to create a moment for self-reflection. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time, you're listening to Self Reflection Podcast. And this is your girl, Lira. Ta-da!